Yo, what is going on, my fellow weebs? Chrono here, and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to give you guys my finalized thoughts on the new game mode LineStrike, what I think is done well, what I think can be improved on, and basically everything in between. But before we jump into that, if you guys are new here, as always, my name is Chrono. I primarily cover PSO2 content. Would much appreciate a subscribe as we work our way towards that 10K mark, hopefully by the end of this year. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this. So just a quick disclaimer, at the end of this video, I'm actually going to go into a few things that are going to be going on with the channel moving forward as well. So if you guys want to stick around for that, it's going to be at the end of the video. I don't want to muddy up the start of this video with that. So just keep that in mind. The video might go on a little longer than expected, just for clarity's sake. As well as on this video, we're not going to really be playing LineStrike. I'm going to have some footage up of my first couple matches of LineStrike. So if you saw that video, well, it's here again. You can ignore this portion of the video itself. Just toss in the background and listen. And if you didn't see that video, well, now's your chance to see it, though it's going to be a little opaque, and of course my commentary won't be there. So if you want to see that, you have to go to that video to watch it. There'll be a link in the video description for it. However, we're going to talk about LineStrike as a whole. So for those who are unaware, LineStrike was added in the most recent update, the July 10th update, and is a piece of non-combat related content that was basically added into the game. Now, the interesting thing about this was kind of like a passion project from the devs as side content overall. This wasn't really a focus of development. This was something they talked about apparently way back when NGS was first coming out. And they even went as far as to say they held a contest to decide on whose idea they were actually going to work on. When that idea won, then of course that dev specifically put forward this, and they put time into it, but this was all done as side project stuff. This never was a forward front. I'm not sure what I'm trying to say. Basically, this wasn't the forefront of any specific update that was supposed to come out. So it took a while before this was released, as everything else basically took precedent over this piece of content. And just to give a blanket what my thoughts are, so you guys can kind of understand where I'm at before we talk about this. They blew it out of the park with this thing. For the premise that was set for this piece of content, which, to be fair, you could always argue that, oh, they're totally lying. They just want to make it sound like they did something extra. This isn't unheard of from a lot of companies like this. However, it's not unheard of for a company to work on something as extra content on the side for their player base. So you could argue either side, of course, but I'm not sure why anyone would argue this. It's just something that does tend to pop up in the YouTube space. So it's worth mentioning that, yeah, that you could make that argument, sure. But for something that wasn't really a major piece of content they were working on, something that was in the background for a long period of time, this is pretty fleshed out. It's got a lot of cards. Granted, all these cards were from the TCG. They're of previous characters and things of that sort. It's got a fairly simplistic game mode, while it's also got a lot of room for depth and different play styles. Every time I've played, at least now, early on, there's always been a difference in strategy that I haven't been able to identify immediately from the individual player we're coming across. And that's really cool, though that can also just be that the game mode's new. Not a lot of people know how it works. People are still trying to iron out strategies or what the best things are to do, and players are still building up their decks, which is not the easiest thing to do in the world. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But as far as the game mode goes overall, solid W from the SEGA, from the NGS team. Absolutely massive W in my opinion. Super cool. Now, there's something to be said for this style of content, because of course there are going to be those people out there that are going to say, yeah, call me old-fashioned, but I would have preferred content. First off, that is the most nothing burger of a piece of feedback I've ever heard in my entire life. It's so completely useless for everyone involved having to hear that statement, because that is not what you're actually saying when people make this sort of feedback. And maybe I'm being not overall or not overly negative to those people specifically, but essentially what I'm saying is that it's obvious that these individuals care about the content that they want to actually go into, and forget that MMOs or just live service games in general, for them to really be successful on a larger scale, need to have all different types of content that may not actually cater to every individual type of player. This is very common in especially the MMO space nowadays. You've got World of Warcraft's like weird pet battle system that they have, that some people really like, but a lot of people think it's just dumb and they don't pay attention to. You've got Final Fantasy XIV's insane number of different pieces of content. Someone argued that the housing alone is its own piece of content. You've got housing, you have mahjong, you have like mini games in their casino. Why am I forgetting the name? The Golden Saucer. You have just all different types of things you can do. A lot of different combat related content, sure, but a lot of other different types of content as well. So a lot of times people just tend to forget these things exist because they only pay attention to what they specifically like. So that is very much just one of those like, I would prefer this. And it's like, yeah, that is content. What you're saying is you'd prefer combat related content that caters specifically to you. And that's fine for everyone to prefer that. However, it's important to recognize that for a game to be successful, if you want it to be successful, if you want your game to do well, you need to have kind of a larger umbrella, so to speak, when it comes to the different varieties of content. And we do need more different varieties of content, even in those subsections. More varieties of combat related content, more varieties of social related content, more varieties of like side minigame related content. All these things are actually important to have. So condemning one because it doesn't really fall into your specific line of thinking is just silly overall, in my opinion. And to be honest, I'm crap at card games. Like, card games are not my thing. My focus in PSO2 is combat related content. However, as someone who supports the game, as someone who is a creator for the game itself, as someone who wants to see this game succeed, it's important to recognize what's important for the game's overall health, not just what's important for my enjoyment of the game itself. I can see something and say, that's not really my cup of tea, but hey, dude, that's pretty cool. That's basically what Creative Spaces was. Creative Spaces was a massive W for the community overall in this game. But I can't build for crap. Like, I am super, super bad when it comes to building creative spaces. Even my Alliance creative space was built by someone else. My personal creative space was built by my wife. Like, I can't build for shit. It is the absolute honest to God truth when it comes to like this sort of stuff. However, that does not mean that Creative Spaces was a bad piece of content. It just means it wasn't for me personally. There is speedrunning content in this game that's combat related, and I am not the best player when it comes to playing or when it comes to combat, though I like combat the most, and I do believe I'm above average. Not the best. Speedrunning content, not really my thing either. However, for those who it fits that niche, it's important to them. So, important piece of content to also take a look at, and to also, granted, someone argued that SEGA doesn't pay attention to it, but it's also important to pay attention to it overall. This is a long way of saying that, hey, not every piece of content is going to be for you. It doesn't make the content bad. It just means that, hey, I don't like that piece of content, and that's totally fine. It's okay to not like that piece of content. But the difference between something being bad and not liking something. You can dislike something that's an absolute masterpiece. There are plenty of games out there in this world that are absolutely amazing that I dislike the premise of that type of game. Doesn't make the game bad, just means I don't personally like it. Very simple. As far as this piece of content goes though, holy crap, did they do a great job with this. Like, honestly, way better than I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be so much I figured this would just be another excuse for them to use like, or to give you a reason to spend AC, to hamstring in another way of, hey, this is how you have to get your star gems for the week or anything along those lines. But it is a completely standalone piece of content. You don't have to interact with it whatsoever. However, you can, and everything you need to get from it comes from that piece of content alone. Granted, yes, there are AC packs. Absolutely. But there are two, and they are 400 AC. I honestly expected them to make this like 1,000 AC per pack, but they give you a starter deck. There's 2 starter decks, and those starter decks are 400 AC a piece, which is the equivalent of like $4. It's $4. And you're like, oh yeah, but you can also buy scratch tickets for pulls in the cards. Yeah, you absolutely can. It's 30 AC per ticket, which comes out to be 300 AC per 10 pull. That's barely more than a single pull on an AC scratch. Like, the actual cost ratio is insanely low. It is probably one of the cheapest things you can get into in this game. Keep in mind, the game's free to play, so I expect these things to exist. However, there is like a level of what you should personally feel like is acceptable versus a level of what you feel like isn't. There are some people out there that believe that free-to-play games should only be free-to-play and should never include money whatsoever. I don't think that's realistic in today's day and age. I think there is a level that is acceptable amount of money that you put into something, and when it comes to this cost, it is so incredibly low. It's not even funny. Let's talk about the overall difficulty of the game itself. LineStrike was super easy to pick up and play. If you take the time to actually read the pop-ups they give you, which I mean, I sort of read and then didn't really, and then read them for a video yesterday and then realized that I missed a bunch of things. It pretty much tells you everything you need to know. It doesn't give you the overall strategies, but it tells you everything you need to know to craft strategies for playing the game. And that is kind of how a game mode should be. It shouldn't tell you how to play it. It shouldn't tell you how to min-max it. It should tell you the basics and the strategies of how to play it, but that's really about it. There are some things that I do want to criticize about the game mode overall. So the tutorial for LineStrike, outside of like what they tell you in the text, is pretty bad. They just have you fight an NPC and that's really it. Like you don't really go through any of the overall basics strategy. Like I beat the NPC without even using half of what LineStrike is. Just put cards down, so on and so forth. And that was basically it. And it's really easy to not understand the game after playing your first match. I feel like if you're going to have a tutorial, you should basically kind of force the player into understanding the entire tutorial. Like give them the chance to skip it if they want to, that's fine. That means that's on them if they don't actually play the tutorial. However, the tutorial should go into all of the mechanics of the game overall, not just be a random NPC fight and that's about it. Realistically speaking, because this was kind of like, something they did on the side, they didn't put, specific development time into, this was just extra development time on the side that they worked on this. I can foresee like that being something that held them back, but I would really like to see like an actual proper tutorial pushed into the game, where you sit down and you have to go through specific things, like go through upgrading cards, deal with the order of how things go off, right? Like based on you placing a card down, maybe two of the same type of card, like two buff cards. One buff card happens, then the other buff card happens, and that happens in the order based on how you play them. That's not something that's actually explained into tutorials itself. You have to actually play to notice that happening. The different types of buffs or different types of interactions happen in certain orders. That's also something that is explained, but not exactly shown when you go into your battle. So that's something I would like to see in tutorials overall. I think that would be really, really good for people that are getting into it, because the unfortunate truth is gamers don't read. Like they read when it applies to something that they want to know about, but most of the time when it comes to tutorials, they ain't reading. It's the oldest problem when it comes to PSO2 is players saying they didn't tell me that thing, when realistically they did, but you had to read it to know it. So I would definitely like to see a proper tutorial put into the game that would basically kind of handhold you through a duel and have you go through specific steps that where you're like, oh, that does this and this does this, so on and so forth. I think that would be a vast improvement overall on that process. So that's more like just the things that I would like to see change. That and like the reward system. The reward system is good, but it could be great. Essentially, it rewards you for winning and losing based on the type of match that you play with card vouchers. So these card vouchers, you need 10 per, or you need like, I think it's like 10 per pull. So 10 card vouchers gives you a single pull. And then of course 100 card vouchers gives you a 10 pull. So you get card vouchers, you do your pulls, and you're able to get different cards essentially. I'm not sure where I was going with that one. Apologies. I kind of like just had a brain fart moment. I'm just basically giving you guys my raw thoughts about the game modes themselves. But essentially with the different types of matches, ranked, unranked, and then free battles. No, ranked, unranked, and then NPC battles. Free battles don't give you anything. You essentially get more card vouchers for winning versus losing, right? So if you do a ranked battle, you get like, I think it's 8 card vouchers, but if you lose, you get 2 card vouchers, as opposed to an unranked battle. If you win, I think it's like 5 card vouchers, and if you lose, you get 3 card vouchers. So like it's, if you think you might lose, you technically get more for playing unranked than ranked. But if you play ranked and you win, you technically get more card vouchers. So it's kind of like a risk reward sort of situation there. And if you just fight NPCs all day long in the NPC battles, and it's like, I think you gain 2 or 3, or it's like 5 to 3, and then like 2 to 3 ratio. It's pretty low overall when it comes down to it. So it's like the least amount of gain versus winning or losing. So if you're concerned with like, oh, I'm not going to get a whole lot because I don't win a whole lot, like playing unranked battles is not that big a deal. But keep in mind, unranked battles means you can match up against anyone. It's not elo based. So if you play an unranked battle, you might come across the demon that's just trying to have some unranked fun, play around and mess around with the new deck, and who knows what you might be facing. So ranked might actually end up being the better choice for you overall. As far as that goes, that's pretty much it when it comes to rewards. You're not getting card vouchers from anywhere else in the game. You're not forced into doing a super hard piece of content. There's not any like rare cards or anything along those lines to start fighting super bosses, which I feel like is a little bit of a misstep, but I kind of understand why it's not the case. When you lock that sort of content behind a different type of content, it kind of forces the player to have to interact with both, which is a good and a bad thing. I think it's a good thing because it adds in rewards for players who are putting in time into both pieces of content. But it's bad because then it forces players who only care about one side of that content into having to interact with the other, right? So like, let's say, for example, if you fought and beat Solus a certain number of times, like the new MDFA Solus or MDFS, yeah, fought basically rank 2 Solus. If you fought him and then like fought him enough times, you got a special card from him, and the only way to get that card is to fight him multiple times. That means anyone who couldn't beat Solus now can't get that card. I think the better way of doing that, or if you were going to do a system like that, would be to give 2 ways of getting a hold of that card, either through playing the game mode or through fighting Solus, which gives you the ability to gain cards even outside of the game mode itself. But I don't really that's not really a knock on their choice in that situation. That's basically like, I can foresee that being a problem, and I can see why they wouldn't have gone with that route. Though I think it would be better to have the ability to do both. Right now, the only way you get cards is through card vouchers. It's RNG, and then of course you can take any cards you happen to have already. Like basically you have 3 of every type of card. Any cards you happen to have already, you can trade in for badges, and those badges can be used to either get more card vouchers, or you can get cosmetics for cards like card sleeves and play mats and so on and so forth. So essentially it's all self-contained in that game mode itself. And they've been pretty generous so far about the number of card vouchers they've been giving out. I can foresee them probably giving out more card vouchers either through login rewards, through even like they have very obviously a tournament creative space set up. So like if they ever do tournaments or anything along those lines, I can see them giving out massive number of card vouchers there, or maybe even like special cards. I can foresee them doing things like this in like the next few events where you can get card vouchers for the points you put in, which would kind of have a little bit of that crossover, but it wouldn't be so difficult that you wouldn't be able to get a hold of those sort of things. So I can foresee more rewards in the future, but I would like to see them kind of push into some of those more interesting rewards, like the difficult fights, so on and so forth. Remember I said not every piece of content's for everyone, and if it was only just about what I wanted, it would be very different. Those are one of those things where it's like, I recognize that, hey, I want this, but I don't think it's always the best choice for the entire game, right? Like I like that super difficult content, but not everyone puts that time into their gear and wants to do that super difficult content. And maybe some of those people like the card game and they want to just play the card game itself, and they don't want to have to be forced into that super difficult piece of content to get one of those cards. That's kind of where that line exists. I'm trying to think, did I cover everything I wanted to cover about this? Oh, and I did want to clarify one thing from the reward structure that I did technically misspeak on, but it's a very easy mistake to make. So when I said it was 30 AC for a card voucher, I was saying it's 30 AC for a pull. It's 30 AC for 10 card vouchers, and you need 10 card vouchers for a single pull overall. That's mostly what I wanted to talk about when it comes down to this piece of content. LineStrike is a fantastic add to the game itself. Is it for everyone? No, it's actually not even for me, to be perfectly honest. But I do think it is something that should be in the game. I think it's something that we should actually actively either try to support or just kind of stay away from if it's not for you. Bad mouthing it or making it look bad, I feel like is just going to be an objective L for everyone involved, to be perfectly honest. Definitely advocate for the type of content you want in the game overall. 100% agree with that. And definitely provide feedback for the content we have in the game currently. Again, 100% advocate for that every step of the way. But understand that we should always have different varying types of content in the game to keep things fresh and new and fun. And I think this is fresh and new and fun. So I'd like to see more things like it in the future. That's pretty much it for my feelings on LineStrike. I did mention that I wanted to talk about something as well, kind of afterwards on this video. So if you're only here for the LineStrike stuff, like if you enjoyed the video, so if you want to keep up with more, channel members are fantastic. I'll post them up here for a second, and then we'll probably post them again at the end of the video. But for those of you guys who are really here for that, take care, my friends. Peace out. For those of you guys who are here for just me in general, just want to give you guys kind of a quick little update on what we'll be doing moving forward. Some things I kind of wanted to work on for the channel overall. I do want to diversify a little bit of what I do over here on YouTube. It's very common. People like to give the criticism that, hey, look, if you want to actually grow on YouTube, you got to do more than just PSO2, which I do. Just most people don't actually watch that content. And if you're not paying attention to that piece of content, I can't put in massive amounts of time into it. For those who do follow my personal life, I work from 12 to 9 every single day, or sorry, 5 days out of the week. My days off are Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And those are the days I put the most into what I'm doing. That's actually when I stream. I stream usually from 12 to however long I can last on those days specifically, while making a video every single day. So a video goes live every day at 3 o'clock. I usually use my time before I go to work to take care of those videos. Even right now, recording my video right now before I would normally have to be at work today. But today we're taking the day off for Skulls' her big debut. By the way, if you guys are watching this video right now, this video goes live during her debut, so you should go check out the debut. Like literally pause the video, go to the debut, and then come back afterwards and put something in the comments. That'd be super cool of you. But as far as my content goes right now, it's just me. I'm working on my own. For a while, I did have a small team when things were kind of popping off and doing well, but as you know, things started to dry up and they weren't as lucrative. Things were being renegotiated, and it came down to the fact that I couldn't really afford to support that team itself. The reality is, for a lot of smaller content creators, is that you're mostly working for free. Reality speaking, you're either working for pennies an hour or you're working almost completely for free. And while you're doing it for yourself, it's totally understandable. But when you get other people involved, of course, they want their time to be compensated, so on and so forth. So it is a bit difficult to keep that sort of concept moving. Skulls has been working on her re-debut recently, and she's been putting in close to hundreds of hours at this point on everything she's been doing, and that's just been for her. Like, no one's paying her for that. It's just what she's working on for herself. If anything, we've paid money into that process between paying artists and things of that sort. So it is something that as creators you have to kind of just accept in that process itself. And I've always had this mentality of I don't really want to make things difficult on my audience. Like, the reason I started making YouTube videos in the very beginning was because there was just a type of video I was looking for that I couldn't find in the PSO2 space. And I was like, you know what? As soon as I learned this, I'm just going to do it myself. And that's something that became a thing on my channel consistently, is if I didn't see it, I just made it. If I wanted to know something, or I felt like someone wanted to know something, and I didn't see it exist there beforehand, I made it. And then I got to a certain point where I was like, you know what? Even if it exists already, people want to hear my opinion, so I'm going to make it anyway. I just started making videos like that, going off the cuff every single time. And it worked pretty well. People enjoyed the content, and people still enjoy my content to this day. And I really appreciate you guys. Yeah, those of you guys who stuck with me from thick and thin, from the very beginning all the way till now, you guys are absolutely awesome. And I do see you guys, and I do appreciate you guys every step of the way, even though sometimes you may get a little weird, you may get a little annoying, and I have to be like, hey, yeah, chill out. I still appreciate you guys, and I still do appreciate you guys do follow the content itself. But I want you to value yourselves and take care of your own mental health and mental spaces. So you got to, it's all the same. Anyway, as far as like content, what that all means, it's a lot of yapping. For what does that mean for what I'm doing moving forward? I do want to try to splice in some more streams. I do want to try to do some more different types of content. As of right now, not only do I play PSO2, but I play Final Fantasy 14. I've been playing Wuthering Waves, considering playing Zenless Zone Zero. And then in the background, I AFK a lot of stuff in Black Desert Online. These are just some of the games that I kind of get into on the daily, whether it's like I mess around and play with like some friends, or like I make small little gains here and there. And what I want to do is I want to put myself in a position in a lot of these different games to continuously make small gains moving forward with minimal amount of time. So things like Black Desert, I can just basically AFK fish every single day and sell the fish, and of course, you know, sell some of the resources and still make money over time in that game. And then when something pops off and like, you know, new class comes out, like Dosa came out a little while ago, or Its Awakening comes out, or a new piece of content comes out I want to play, I can just jump into that. And I've already, you know, made some time, made some headway in there. I'm not really missing out on too much. Wuthering Waves, I have a Swords Only account that I've been playing on pretty much every day since I created it, putting little bits of time each day in the morning towards it. And it takes me maybe like 15-20 minutes to take care of some dailies. And then I, you know, incrementally work towards something. I've got like, I think 25,000 Astrite for the next sword character that's coming out. So I'll be pulling for them and their weapon and that sort of stuff. So that'll be super fun. And then of course, when a new Wuthering Waves update comes out, I can jump into that knowing that I've got my account set up and my character set up the way I like to. I kind of have this sort of thing about when I play games. I like having a comfortable feeling of where I'm at and what I'm working towards. With Final Fantasy, I've been working on leveling crafters, working on leveling gatherers, leveling my main class Viper, and then of course doing roulettes, grabbing or trading tomes in for gear for the other classes, and then eventually trading them in for the relics that are coming up, so on and so forth. So like it's just a constant forward moving kind of like progression that doesn't require me to take all of my time in the day to do, but it allows me to like invest some time in the day and be able to make those marginal gains moving forward. It's the same way I play PSO2. I log in the morning, I do my dailies and all those sort of things, and just, you know, log out and work on other things I got to work on. Something that keeps moving forward, and I still have time to like pay attention to and hang out with my wife, take care of our cat, take care of our daily stuff, still be around IRL. However, I do want to push more into my YouTube and Twitch space, meaning I do need to kind of make a few changes that I've already made in the background that not everyone has noticed immediately, but I'm sure some of you guys have seen. YouTube has a very stringent way they want to do ad revenue on channels, and I've basically since kind of moved my channel into the way they have that. Some of you guys get ads, some of you guys don't get them, some of you guys ad block them, whatever you happen to do, that's your business. I'm not going to get on them about that or anything like that at all. Some people, they just happen to have premium, so they don't see it anyway, like I personally do. I have premium, which is why I have ads turned on YouTube. I have YouTube completely whitelisted. That way everyone is able to get resources or get revenue from me watching any YouTube video, since I have premium on YouTube. That's something that's shared with my family, so it's not a big deal for me personally. But all that being said, essentially the channel a while back over on Twitch moved into running ads. It's set for every 30 minutes, about a minute and a half. Sucks being a small channel. However, not doing anything means that not only do you guys get ads at random that I have zero control over, I get basically nothing for them. So it's a little silly at all. Yes, this is me opting into choosing to run ads, so I'm not complaining about having to run them at all, but this is me kind of taking the lesser of two evils. The opposite side of things would be running 3 minutes of ads every hour, which I feel like is a little too excessive. Some people may prefer the less frequency over it being longer versus the more frequency over it being shorter, but I found that this is kind of the healthy middle ground, and I'll adjust it based on, you know, feedback from the Twitch side of things. On YouTube, you guys may start to see mid-roll ads here and there. It is something that YouTube is going to put in. I'm going to kind of play around with to make sure they aren't too egregious, but it is kind of one of the situations where I kind of have to test it out and work through it as much as I possibly can. But I wanted to be transparent with you guys, let you guys know what's going on in this video itself, and I want you to know what I'm working towards overall. We are going to be streaming more on Twitch as much as I can. I am going to be promoting more content on the second channel, which I haven't really been the best about doing, and I do want to make sure to keep things uploaded over on the VOD channel. I'm still working on that, but I am working alone. I'm doing all of this 100% by myself. My wife has her own channel to run, she has her own stream to manage, she has her own things to do, so I can't really ask her for assistance. As much as she would love to give me that assistance, can't ask her for it because she's got her own priorities and her own things she's working on. So just so you guys are aware, it's just me. It's your homie. It's your boy on his own. So as far as what we can get done, what we can accomplish, I'm gonna do everything I can for you guys as much as I possibly can. But expect to start seeing small tidbits of more things mixed in there. You guys may see a 14 video mixed in the channel a couple of times. You may see a Wuthering Waves video mixed in. You might see a Black Desert Thoughts video mixed in. You might see a Black Desert Grinding video mixed in. And to be honest, if you guys support me personally, I'm not saying you have to support those videos, but if you want to help out in any way, shape, or form, supporting those videos is the best way to do so. You don't have to pay anything. You don't have to come out of pocket. I appreciate the channel members. You guys, we have like 2 channel members. It's not a ton amount. It's not a huge amount, right? Like I thank them in at the end of every video. You guys are awesome. But even having any channel members at all tells me that there are people out there that are willing to support me specifically to help me reach my goals. And that's huge for me personally. And I think that's super awesome. So I just wanted to make this second portion of this video itself about this. I didn't want to take an entire video for this and let you guys know kind of where I'm at in my headspace, what we'll be working on. I do eventually want to try to hit partner over on Twitch. We did the whole thing on YouTube and that was super awesome. I eventually want to start multi-streaming over to YouTube as well, so the YouTube boys can get some content on their end. But if you are on YouTube's end and you miss out on the streams and things of that sort, just keep in mind the VOD channel exists. You can actually go over to my channel, scroll down, you'll see the VOD channel. Just click on it, you'll be able to jump over to it. The VODs get uploaded there. I'm still working on that process and how I can get that, you know, a bit more streamlined for myself, but we're getting there. So cut me some slack, we'll get there. I promise, guys. Anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about today. As always, if you guys watch all the way to the end, you are one of the real ones. Comment if you watched all the way to the end. I want to know. I want to see those of you guys who watched all the way to the end of this video. It's a long one. Thank you to the channel members. You guys are fantastic individuals. Again, it warms the heart to know that you guys want to support my content, even if it's for a short period of time. Whatever type of support you guys provide for me, I appreciate every single one of them, and I see all of it. I look at all of this stuff all the time. It's not always best for the mental health, but I always take a look at it. Anyway, my friends, take care. I mean this genuinely. Peace out.